Good evening everyone and welcome back to Slip Grip Simracing here on Twitch. We're here to start our new series this week, which is the Renault Clio Cup, as we just see Colin Dunn getting it all kinds of wrong through Old Hairpin there, and also that's Harrison Fulton in the background. Yeah, it is in the gravel, so we'll cut away from them and cut to some cars that aren't crashing. Yeah, so as I say, start of a new series. We are looking at the Clio Cups for the next 8 weeks, 8 rounds as we normally do, and these cars should make for some absolutely brilliant racing, hopefully. Obviously all the guys are going to be relatively similar pace. Should be a good pack racing. We've gone back to our old format of running 3 15-minute roughly races. So we're going to have 3 12-lap races as it is tonight. So race 1 will be set from qualifying positions, which the qualifying positions. The qualifying session itself will be a 15-minute session following on from the after this practice session, of which there's 3 minutes remaining. You should be able to see at the top, and yeah, so that'll set the grid for race 1. Race 2 will be set by the results of race 1, and then race 3 will be a reverse grid of the top 12. So everyone under outside of that top 12 will start as they finished race 2. The top 12 will be switched and reversed. So we're going back to our sort of normal routes with the 3 races. A little bit more admin work for me to do, but nothing too strenuous, and sort of trying to mimic the British Touring Car Series format really is what we're looking at. So one thing to note this evening is the fact that none of the cars will have ballast, success ballast as well, so it's an absolute even playing field for everyone. And to aid sort of the running of this series, and just to try and help everyone have something to fight for on circuit, we've introduced both Pro and Am categories into this series. So we've just been focusing on Matt McKenzie at the minute, as I've been just talking through what's going on. Obviously in a default livery, a lot of the cars, I didn't pick one that's in the pits, a lot of the cars do have custom liveries, and I must say the ones that I've seen so far look absolutely epic. One of this being personal favourite, the Rothmans livery. It's obviously mimicking the classic late 80s, early 90s Rothmans liveries that adorn so many famous race cars. But I believe Matt probably took the most inspiration from the Williams Formula 1 cars. As I say, you saw them in those colours throughout the 80s and into the 90s before the sort of ban on the tobacco sponsorship. But yeah, so actually the team at the minute are 1 and 2 in the practice. So Dave Rose that we're looking at is an Am driver, so to try and help me distinguish who is in which category, you can see the sun visor, the banner at the top of the windscreen on Dave's car is white, signifying that he is in the Am category, whereas his teammate who's in the pits, unfortunately it's a little bit of distance, but you can see the blue car there. It should have a black banner, which it does. So Matt Johnston, not surprisingly to anyone that's watched our racing before, won multiple series with us and is always rapid, so yeah, not a surprise to see him in Pro. But Dave has more than outperformed himself so far to push himself into 2nd position, so yeah, that team is already strong. We've I'll try and run through the teams a bit, but just to sort of explain as well, the teams, we've not allowed free reign of the teams this season, in aid of the Pro and Am categories. We ran a time trial for all the guys, so when the guys signed up, they had to run a series of laps. It was around Donington National as a benchmark, and from those results we formulated the teams, and it was simply the fastest driver went with the slowest driver from that time trial, second with second last, etc, and work from there. So we're hoping that the teams really should be quite balanced in terms of their overall point scoring performances. Yeah, it was just to add, again, just that little bit extra. And the good thing as well with having a Pro and an Am driver in each team, it does hopefully sort of force the Pro drivers to help the Am drivers come along, because last thing we want to do is discourage Am drivers by having them off the pace and sort of not knowing good setup tips and that, as Matt Johnston puts himself into a big slide there at the end, and see all the tyre smoke from the one of the newer custom shaders patches. So yeah, so the teams, hopefully all the drivers should be working together to help push their teams forward and help develop some of the newer guys, or some of the guys that aren't maybe necessarily on the pace at the moment, just help them come through. So one thing I am going to do, because I've just seen with how the table is going, apologies that I'm adjusting this on the evening, so that should be okay for now. Perfect. Yeah, so as you can see, the guys heading out onto the circuit again. We have started our 15-minute qualifying session, so everyone should hopefully be finding themselves some space onto the track. All that you see is that Ben Hanks that's being chased. No, it's Paul Hayhoe with Jake Bigstaff as Toby Owen. I think that was already got it wrong, so not the ideal start for him. But yeah, Jake Bigstaff not looking for some space. He wants to follow Paul. He knows Paul is normally absolutely rapid. Jake returning to the racing with us. It's been a long time since he's done any sort of championship or racing with us, so it's good to see him back on the grid after his hiatus. And yeah, trying to follow one of the best drivers we've got overall in Paul, so they start their first flying lap. So yeah, if I don't quite know the categories of some of the slip and grip default cars, I just threw those liveries together. To be honest, it was just literally a couple standard coloured cars with some logos on it, job done. I didn't bother with the window banners or anything, so I'll try to keep an eye out for that. But I would suspect, as Paul gets very sideways going into Old Hairpin there, and yeah, lost all his momentum, so Jake will continue on his own on this lap. We'll try and see what some of the early running will be. Saw in that practice session a 17.7, so a lot of tyre smoke from this shaders patch. Might be something to look at in the following weeks. It's a bit too much at the minute, and I'm not going to adjust anything right now. Yeah, a 1:17.7 was the fastest seen in that. I believe before the server was reset, some guys, the other drivers managed to get a 17.6, 17.8 around that sort of time. So should be fairly close in that battle for pole position. So we see Jake come across. What's his first? So he's at an 18.5. I would expect that to be beaten, as Dave Rose goes on an 18.5 as well for his first lap. So yeah, Dave absolutely fine in these little Clios, putting really good lap times in. Whether he's had some help from Matt Johnston already in terms of setup, be interesting to see. And speak of the devil, Matt Johnston goes into provisional pole position with his first lap at a 17.6. So, as we said, absolutely flying, with Rob Fowler again returning to start this Clio series on a 17.8. So just that couple tenths. I'm sure I'll be looking to find. So let's have a bit of a run through the teams, I think. So Matt Johnson, Dave Rose, we know in the Rothmans cars. I've obviously already shown those guys. Rob Fowler is currently the pro in this Terra Clean car that we see. His teammate in the AM category is Andy Benton, who's currently in 8th place. So it's good qualifying pace so far from Andy Benton. I think a few guys are still going to put some times in, but he's certainly not hanging about. He's trying to break the toe of Colin Dunn there, I think, behind him. So we'll have a quick look. Is Colin Dunn on my list? Yes, he is. So Joe Challoner should be the pro in the team with Colin Dunn too. I know Joe Challoner does have the Renault Laguna yellow and blue Super Tourer livery, or Super Tourer inspired livery. So Colin in the Dunn Motorsport Positive Perception car, one of 2 drivers from that from Positive Perception, sort of the group that we're closely linked with nowadays with our ACC joint series, as well as with the boys, but certainly have a lot of crossover of drivers with each other, and it's good communities. So give those guys a check as well on Discord, especially if you're into ACC. They do a lot of championships, including there's a Thursday Snetterton evening race coming up this week. So tomorrow night, shall I say. Right, so let's move on. So Paul Hayhoe, as we saw, was in another F1 inspired livery, this one of the 2006 Renault F1 livery, Mild 7, another tobacco sponsorship. So this one, most famous for Fernando Alonso in his championship winning years, and Paul is with Ben Hanks. So Ben is in 12th place at the minute. So yeah, those guys, Ben in the AM, Paul in the pro, in that lovely car there. So we see, Matt Johnson's left the server. I wonder why his name had gone. Who else can we have a look at? So Matt Davis and Mark Raddenbury are another team. Neither of those guys can make it this evening, unfortunately. So yeah, we have got a grid of 17 for this week, but that will increase. We've got 26 guys registered. Unfortunately, there's just quite a few that aren't able to make it this evening, which I think it's just bad luck on our part. We've we've had a good sign up, and we have got, I think, one more space left. But yeah, there will be more guys as the series continues. So just keeping an eye on time. I know Matt did increase his advantage a little bit to the 17.5. Nobody else able to get onto terms with him at the minute, so we'll just have a look as he exits the pits. You can just see a couple drivers moving up the rankings there, but yeah, Toby Owen, who's joined us for this season, see him in that grid finder car there. So Toby Owen is running in the pro category, actually, because the guys have actually found quite a lot of pace by the looks of it through the practice, through the sort of time trial. The time trials that we set. I think Toby just scraped into the pro category, but I'm aware that he's not done much practice. He sort of messaged earlier in our grid that he's not done any practice sort of leading into this evening, so I think that's just starting to show now, as he's unfortunately a bit further back. But it'd be interesting to see how he gets on when he gets in the pack with everyone else, what his pace will be like and how good his racecraft is. has actually started doing a little bit of racing. I'm seeing he was racing a Ford KA in the Enduro car series, along with YouTuber Chris Hay. So yeah, be interesting to see there. John Walker is his teammate. Again, John unable to join us this evening. John does have an Heirlooms Puzzle livery, as he normally does. Otherwise, who else? We've got Alex Osborne. Oh, Alex McKee, unfortunately not in as well. So, yeah, as I say, there's quite a few missing this week. So, Aussie currently in P10 in the blue Slip and Grip car. Let's have a look at Ross Parker in the familiar Slip and Grip automotive design. So this inspired by Ross's old Honda Civic race car, the red and the black. Yeah, with his personal sponsors and stuff on the car. So yeah, Ross is obviously going to go back to the pits. So Ross in P9 currently with his teammate, of course, is off the track and on the grass. But Andy Keithley in the other Slip and Grip automotive car there in P13. Andy normally goes well in front wheel drive cars, to be fair to him. He's just lost a couple of places actually, as some of the other guys, a handful of places, a few of the other guys just improve their laps as they go along. But yeah, Andy normally does pretty well in the front wheel drive cars, so I'll have to keep an eye out, see if he can get himself into that reverse grid positions as the night goes on. And then, so the next team that I want to look at, the Cadbury's Mini Egg boys. So Matt Cross as the pro driver, and Matt currently in 5th place on an 18 flat, only just off Dave Rose's time there. These cars look absolutely cracking, to be fair. I do really like what has been done with them. So yeah, Matt Cross, the pro driver in this team, along with Harrison. So there you see with the white banner again, Harrison with that Mini Eggs and the white wheels rather than the yellow, so just a little bit easier to distinguish. Are we there? Oh, so Tom Simpkins is the last driver, I think, for a team. So Tom running that Red Bull liveried car there. So Craig Fulton would actually be his teammate, as Tom's got blinking rear lights on the car. I think he's been modding and messing about with his a little bit. We all know Tom likes to tinker and mod on AC, so yeah, I think he's been doing a little bit more with his car. But yeah, so Tom, the pro for his team, that would be with Craig Fulton again, another driver that's not on the grid at the moment, as we see Dan Lewis has managed to join in with us. So he's teammates with Matt McKenzie. So Matt McKenzie currently 12th, Dan Lewis, who is in 18th. So yeah, not set a time. He's just about got time to get round and get a lap in, thankfully for him. And I'll also give a quick shout out as well to, oh well, let's have a look at, can we get a bit better view of the car? Sorry. So there is a safety car as well. So James Jackson has kindly stepped in to drive the safety car for us for the series, just in case we need it. Hopefully we don't, but yeah, we do have a safety car for the series should we need it. Let's find a better angle. Apologies for who is out on tracks. Any other movers? No one seems to be doing a great deal with their times at the moment. It's everyone seems to have set an early lap and not been able to beat it since. So We'll stick with Paul Hayo for now. Who's he got? He's got Andy Benton in front of him there in the Terra Clean car. Oh, by the way, if anyone's out there looking, if you could let me know what the audio is like, if car's too loud, I'm not loud enough, etc. If we're all good. In fact, let's have a little jump on board with Paul and just have a lap round the Donington Park circuit. So on the Wheatcroft Straight, coming down into Redgate. So yeah, all the guys will use that pit exit. As you see the car pulled off to the side there. So go through Redgate, and then this first part of the right-hander is Hollywood. So that's just there. And now we're coming into the Craner curves before we have a dab of the brakes, down a gear into Old Hairpin, trying to carry as much momentum as possible as they go through Schwantz curve here on the left and uphill before this left-hand kink into McLean's. That was always a favourite overtaking spot on Matt Neal back in the day. For again, blind entrance into Coppice here on the right hand side, kissing that apex on the inside and just trying to carry as much momentum as possible in these cars through the corners. It goes down the straight into the Roberts chicane to complete the lap. It's nice and tidy, using all the curb on the edge of the track there, but this is going to be a good lap I think from Paul. Going to cross line. No, it doesn't improve, but it was a nice tidy lap, but obviously not quick enough. Nobody able to get onto terms with Matt Johnston in the end, who has that 3/10 advantage, but obviously see the cars piling into each other. This is usual. Well, Chris Brewster must have crossed the line, so yeah, apologies Chris, I've not spoken about you yet. So Chris Brewster is back racing with us as well, which is excellent to see. He's thrown this livery together, I think today, and saw it in drive, but it's a good looking car to be fair, considering saying not spent much time on it. It does look good. So Chris continuing this lap, he obviously must be pretty close to his best lap time. Has a white banner, but he is driving as an independent and should be in the pro category really, Chris. He is normally one of our quicker drivers in the front wheel drive cars. He does improve, but doesn't improve in a position, and did see Aussie actually improved up to 7th behind him. So yeah, Brewster did actually better his time by a few tenths, but it wasn't enough to get him up past Matt Cross or to get himself on that second row. But yeah, no surprises really with seeing Matt Johnston on pole. Fairly standard nowadays. But I will say, Dave Rose, that is an absolutely brilliant effort from him to be in P4.
And that's a my car, says Russo.
Thank you for the follow, Snippers Dave. It's nice to have. So we are up to 6 viewers at the minute, so good to see. Yeah, we've got a 3-minute wait time ahead of the first race, so I think if I can, oh god, what has it done with my camera set? So let's try and move. Oh, that's sorry. Let's have a look at these cars a little bit closer just whilst we wait. So yeah, Matt Johnston with... Why won't it focus? Oh, okay. I might have to abandon that, but we can see the Rothmans car with Rob Fowler, returning Rob Fowler on in second place on the front row is what I was trying to say. Paul Hayo, row 2 with Dave Rose, followed by Matt Cross and Chris Brewster. Then Alex Osborne, who we saw jumped up at the end there in front of Jake Biggerstaff. Tom Simpkins in 9th, loving front wheel drive as always, in front of Ross Parker, who should be good on the starts in these. Harrison in 11th place there in front of Ben Hanks. Andy Benton in 13th in front of Matt McKenzie, so not a great qualifying for Matt McKenzie there. Colin Dunn in 15th with Andy Keithley alongside him. Toby Owen, one of the new guys to us, in 17th, and then Dan Lewis at the back, so you can just see the safety car there as well, with James Jackson ready to pilot it should we need it. I'll just wait for this to tick down. Shouldn't be too long now after my messing about there looking at the cars on the grid. As I say, the deliveries the guys have done do look brilliant. The cars really do look good with all the custom jobs that they've got on them. Always the same for us. We're big believers in having custom liveries. There's a 10-second clock. I was hoping for a camera set that didn't have the wobbling camera there, so apologies, not sure why it's doing that at the moment, but good to go. It should be a fairly even start, which it looks like that for everyone. Has come racing down towards Redgate and Turn 1. We'll try and pick a car that's a bit more in the pack just to see if everyone's got through cleanly, which they have. They're going to go 4 wide. Going out Redgate, a couple of cars on the grass, but everyone seems to be safely through for this first part of the lap. As there's a bit of contact there, there's contact again, there's going to be a couple of cars. This is a safety car situation. We're going to go safety car on that. Has to be, there's several cars lost out there, so I think that was Harrison that got involved with the contact on Alex Osborne. So hopefully we should see James pull out onto the track, which he has. So sorry, I'm just having to send a message to James. He's gone a bit wild and indeed spun. So yeah, he's gone a bit mental. So right, okay, we'll forgive James for that one, because it's his first time doing it. I probably should have explained our procedure for when the safety car comes out. So when the safety car is called, the guys will race to the start-finish line. So normally they'll carry on, keep racing, cross the start-finish line, and then, as the guys are getting a bit silly in the background, they're a bit of nudging. Yeah, and then they will form up and fall back into line. So where is James? He is about to get to Coppice, so he needs to hold up and let the pack chase catch him. It's getting a bit going a bit too quick, I think. Where is he? He's on the start-finish straight, so I think these guys have sort of taken it into their own hands at the minute. So where are all the drivers? I think everyone has caught back up anyway, so yeah, the guys have taken it into their own hands. Is James coming into the pit? So yeah, they're gonna go for another lap. Okay. So right, I've just had to send a message to the guys. I've just put race next lap, so hopefully everyone should get going in the next lap. And I'm also just going to message James privately, just to tell him to he needs to wait at the end of the pit lane next time. But never mind, that's not a problem. The pit lane. Right, so let us carry on. So hopefully, 'cause I think James has left the server, he should be able to come back in. I think Matt's already gone actually looking at that, so yeah. Yeah, cheers. Snippers, that's yeah, it is a good feature. Yeah, apologies, it looks a little farcical. I've not really explained to James properly myself what our procedure is, but anyway, we'll come back to that. We'll get involved with this race. So Chris Brewster battling like crazy with Matt Cross through Redgate, and they're going to go 2x2 through the Craners. Oh, that's close from Matt Cross, but they managed to avoid, and Jake is going to take full advantage, and Tom is trying to force him through as well. Oh, there's contact there. Jake does ever so well to keep hold of the car. It looked certain he was going to make his way onto the grass, and here comes Ross Parker as well, so he gets his car snuck down the inside as Jake ends up losing several positions there, with Dave Rose in 9th. So Dave looking to recover a lot of places that he's lost from the start of this race. As we saw, it was a really good qualifying position for him, so he's lost out quite a bit, but here he is. He's bump drafting Jake down that back straight as Tom's looking into the chicane. He's going to take a lot of curb. Matt Cross ends up with a lot of curb as well, but Tom is up into 5th place, and he's made 4 positions already in this race, started in P9, and up he goes into 5th. And that crowd in the background, I mean, how do you call that? We've got multiple cars side by side. So there's Toby Owen, who's got Andy Keithley looking down the inside of him now. So Andy Keithley's made his way through. Dan Lewis has made his way past as well. And I think Matt McKenzie is having a look. Is Toby leaving him some space? It looks like it is. So we're going to have Matt McKenzie have a dive down at Old Hairpin, giving each other plenty of room. Some good driving here. Oh, as Toby gets it on the grass, but he manages to keep hold of the car. And even behind them, we've got Harrison, we've got Alex. Oh, Dave Rose. Dave Rose has had another incident somewhere. Missed that. So, as we keep getting the tyre smoke everywhere, so Dave Rose absolutely plummeted down the order. And as he gets down the inside of Alex Osborne there, so them two probably really should work together. They are normally Alex Osborne normally one of the quicker guys in this group, and Dave will be desperate to work his way back up as we've got the old concertina into the chicane. Meanwhile, up at the front, we'll just have a cut back. So Matt Johnston just starting to stretch his legs now, which we did suspect might be the case. Matt Johnston, absolute specialist in front-wheel drive cars, always has been. He's got that gap to 1.2 over Rob Fowler at the minute. And Paul Hayo follows Rob Fowler off as well. Chris Brewster's broken away in 4th place in front of Tom Simpkins. And then we've got Ross Parker having a battle with Matt Cross as well, so Ross gets himself up into 6th place. I think he's made several moves as well from his original starting position. Just see Dan Lewis and Andy Keithley there side by side as they come into Coppice, so Dan Lewis remains ahead for now. Andy Keithley's got the switch back. It looks like he got a good run coming out of Coppice. Has he got a nose? He's not quite got the nose alongside. I think he's going to give that up, which he does. Just slots back in. Took a bit of a poor line in, actually. I was just wondering if Matt McKenzie might be able to do anything about that. Not quite. So, yeah, Andy and Dan Lewis making their way through. Dan's done well, actually. He's, again, another driver that's managed to stay out of trouble and work his way up the grid as they all take liberties with the track limits there on the exit. Where are these guys? So, just have a quick look at Paul there. Trying to hunt down Rob Fowler at the moment. Sort of a second between those two, but just sort of staying steady where it is at the moment. Definitely wasn't. Oh, there's I thought they were side by side there. Sorry, Matt Cross and Ross Parker. Matt desperate to try and find his way back past Ross as he gets him on the brakes into the chicane. There's a bit of door banging there. Nothing untoward though. And it sees him through, and Jake Biggerstaff takes full advantage of the slow exit that they had and gets himself back into 7th place with Ben Hanks in P9 as well. So a brilliant showing from Ben Hanks at the minute, as again runs wide. There's a lot of people using all the curb and a bit of grass, not slowing him down too much. But yeah, Ben Hanks having a brilliant run in this car so far. He got himself in that top 10 position. Oh, there's a cut back and Matt McKenzie is going to go in the gravel, so looks as though there might have been a little bit of contact with Andy Keithley there through the craners, because both cars were completely sideways as we cut to him. He's lost him a lot of ground and places, so Toby Owens suddenly shot up to 11th place. Did see Dave Rose had another issue, I think, by the looks of it, because he's in 17th. There he is at the back of this pack. As Andy Benson still battling with Colin Dunn. Gets a little bit of a tap there from Colin just to help bump him along. Those guys trying to make a move on Harrison in front of him. So there you go, through the chicane. It's a good run by Andy that time by the looks of it. He pulls out. Oh, that's Matt McKenzie that's gone in the background, so he's made a mess of the Roberts chicane and he's completely off. Andy Benson, I think, is going to make about 3 places here. He goes right round the outside. He's not able to quite keep the momentum though. He's definitely gained at least a position. He's got past Harrison. But yeah, for a moment there, it looked like he was going to get Ozzy and Toby Owen all in one move, which would have been an absolutely epic go. Here comes Harrison, trying to send it down the inside. He will have lost a little bit of momentum, I would think, through that move, but not enough to allow Colin a chance back through. Meanwhile, let's have a look just a little bit further up the grid. So Matt Cross has made his way back past Ross Parker and Jake Biggerstaff. These guys clearly squabbling because Ben Hanks has absolutely shot up to the back of him again. Guys giving each other plenty of respect and lots of room, which is what we like to see here. We like to think that we are one of the cleaner groups that we've assembled. A lot of these guys have raced each other for a long period of time now, and they tend to know how each other drives, how aggressive each other is, and yeah, we have some absolutely epic racing on show. I must say, I'm quite surprised at the field spread. It's good that we do have these couple groups of cars that are keeping us entertained in this race. But yeah, certainly wasn't expecting the field at the front to spread out just quite as much as it has done. But as we say, we do run success ballast and that moving forward. So I think that will not necessarily change the order, but it might just close up those gaps at the front. Those guys might just start falling back towards these sort of guys here that we're looking at. There's some brilliant racing in that pack behind as well, as we see Andy Keithley trying to have a go at Alex Osborne. Dan Lewis has made a break in front of them, so he's managed to keep clean and keep out of it. As Ozzy goes wide, he's got that completely wrong, so he's going to lose several places here, I would imagine. Andy Keithley's gone past. He's managed to keep enough momentum, I think, that he's still possibly racing with Benton. As he goes into the side of him, that's just unfortunate. A bit Dorbang and Harrison's been turned as well. I think that's just a racing incident, looking at it. Ozzy went for that late dive towards the inside. Andy Benton didn't take the apex, but did take the corners. There was contact again. Colin lost it on the curbs in the Craners, and that contact was enough to send Ozzy off. And Colin Dunn was in the gravel as well, so Harrison's going to gain some places back. As we see, a bit more door rubbing this time into McLean's between Toby Owen and Andy Benton. So after all the talk of how clean we race, everyone suddenly starts knocking each other about, but most of Live to Tell the Tale as Harrison's in the gravel in the background there. A little bit of coming together with Ozzy, I think, with a recovering Colin Dunn there. Matt McKenzie's still way off the back of this pack, unfortunately, so just cut back to the leader at the minute, Matt Johnston. So Rob Fowler's done a good job in the end, actually. That gap extended quite early in this race, up to the 1.2 mark, and it's not really extended since then. Whether Matt's just held off a little bit, or whether Rob has been able to increase his pace to match, he's not absolutely streaked away, so hopefully that's a good sign for the next couple races. If Rob Fowler and that can get away with Matt Johnston, he might be able to have a little bit of a race with him. I see there is some close gaps behind still. I just want to see first couple cars through, and then we'll go have a look at some of the battles. So yeah, the first win of the series for Matt Johnston in front of Rob Fowler and Paul Hayhoe. Returning Chris Brewster there as well in 4th place in front of Tom Simpkins. And then Matt Cross and Jake desperate to try and find a way past Ross in the last chicane, but Ross will hold out in front of Ben Hanks with an absolutely brilliant result in the first race of this series in 9th. First race for Dan Lewis with us in this, so 10th place for him, finishing that top 10 positions. Andy Keithley in 11th in front of Toby Owen. Andy Benton holds on to 13th in front of Dave Rose. Ozzy finishes in 15th after all the incidents that we saw. And then Colin and Harrison Fulton with Matt McKenzie making up the final position, as everyone has a group gathering and a little bump and bang around on the finish as always, and Colin's ended up over onto his roof there and back again. And that completes our first race. So a good start to the evening. Just wait for it to tick over. I think we're waiting for James Jackson, who has left the server again. So yeah, the cars will now reset. So I will need to just go to our little intermission screen. Hopefully microphone that's still open. Yes, it is. So just need to wait for the server to tick over. Basically, I need the results file from our server so that I can set up the next couple races. So that's just done that. Hopefully we can continue there. So yeah, just whilst I'm setting up the next race, just want to say that we obviously have just started this this Clio Championship. As I say, I think there's one position left in our entry list, so if you want to get involved, you'll have to be quick and on your toes. If not, and a set of course of Competizione is a bit more of your thing, we do have a Sunday series for that. We're currently doing Lamborghini Super Trofeos, and those cars, it's not the new Super Trofeo, the Evo one, it is the old one at the moment. We literally started that last Sunday, and we will be doing that for another 7 rounds before we then move on to our next championship on that. So we've got plenty of spaces left for the Super Trofeos as it is at the moment. I think we can allow up to 50 drivers, so yeah, we've got lots of room in that one. I believe there's about 25 cars signed up for that. Unfortunately, we won't be racing this weekend. We've delayed things by a week because of the Formula One. We didn't want the racing to clash on that, so yeah, we are going to postpone by a week. So it will be what day? It will be the 3rd of April is when we will run our next race in the Super Trofeos. Right, so hopefully we should have had a server restart and I can message the guys. Actually, I don't think I've done that correct. If you give me a minute. I put the wrong server config in, so that's the problem with talking and trying to figure everything out in one go. So let's get the right grid. Oh, the right race is up rather. Export. Yeah, I think next week I'll just go away and not try and talk, and just have a couple of minutes away, just whilst I get things up to scratch and sorted. I'm hoping that all should be good with things now. So let me bring OBS back up so I can see what's going on. So I'm just loading into the game and I'll bring up the footage in a moment. Everyone appears to be on the grid. Are they in the right positions? It should put them in there. We're looking pretty good. So let's go back to the game footage. Again, there was a 3-minute wait period, which will already be eaten into whilst everyone's loading up and getting onto the grid. Who are we missing at the minute? I think it's just James at the moment. If he's coming back, I don't know if he's coming back in. Everyone else appears to be on the grid in their correct positions. The only other thing I do want to check. Oh, it's not going to let me, is it? If I just return. Oh, it won't let me return to the bit. Okay. I think there's there should be a reverse grid on this as well, so nobody's told me otherwise, but sorry. Press that it's only me hosting streaming. Cheers, thank you, I do try. It is actually a little bit more slick than this normally, I'd like to say. It's a while since I've sorted out the grid to do the race 2 with the race 1 results, etc. There's a little bit of software that you put the race results file into, and it spits out the entry list in the correct order for me, and then I have to update the server config file. So yeah, it's easier if there's two of you. I used to have partner in crime Jamie Purcell helping me out, but yeah, here we go. So we've got that 10 seconds. The lights about to go out. Should be an even start again, I think. So the lights are underway as the cars come screaming down. It looks like a good launch from Tom there, who's got himself alongside, and he looks though he's already going to be past Brewster. Is he? He's going to stay alongside. Everyone has managed to get through safely so far. So let's keep an eye on them through the craners. This is where we had all the issues last time, coming through the craners and then into Old Herpin. So all cars appear to be okay for now. That was Dan Lewis who's in the gravel, unfortunately, but he'll get going again soon. Paul Hayhoe has made a move into second, only briefly though, as Rob Fowler goes on the outside. They're going to have to make this move quick because Matt Johnston is going to run away. He's already 1.4 seconds down the road, and these guys squabbling is certainly not going to help that. You saw Tom Simpkins giving a bump draft to Paul, and that's just helped him get past Rob Fowler. Rob's still alongside, but not quite going to be able to mech it from there, I don't think, as Ben Hanks was having a big look at Ross Parker as well there in 6th place. So Ben's had a absolutely terrific start, moved up 3 positions, probably benefited a little bit by the odd car, but yeah, he's had an excellent start and got himself well inside that top 12, so he'll be happy as Rob Fowler gets it really sideways and wrong into Redgate, and that's given Tom the perfect opportunity to get down that inside. He's going to have a good line through the crane. You see the car going light on the rear as Rob understeers into the side of him, but no harm done, and that is Tom Simpkins through into third, but only briefly as he goes wide, and Rob Fowler carries that momentum and makes his way back past by the time they get through Schwant's curve. So through they go into McLean's. Tom just caught out a little bit by Rob there. You could see the brakes come on and it just threw Tom off a little bit. And now Ross Parker is absolutely glued to the bumper of Tom as well. So these guys really beating each other up early doors in this race, as everyone else just seems to be finding the feet and making the way through. But yeah, Matt Johnston has got away from Paul Hayhoe so far. He's at 2.3. Sorry, so yeah, the reverse grid will be for race 3, Dave. So race 2 is from the race 1 results, and then we'll have a reverse grid top 12 at the end of this race. So yeah, plenty more to come yet. As that was Ben Hanks is in. So I definitely saw a car wide there. Might have been that one of Alex Osborne, who's actually made several positions at the start of this race, because we saw in race 1, fell foul of a couple little incidents that pushed him right towards the back of the grid, and indeed Chris Brewster has also lost several places, but he's still crucially inside that top 12 at the moment. Sorry, so Rob Fowler's in... Ah, right, so he mates with Rob. Oh, that's good to know. Yeah, CD keys is normally pretty cheap for AC, as and when you're ready for joining in on that. So we'll just have a look. So your day job can get in the way if you finish late. Yeah, it happens. It's part of the reason we have 2 drop rounds for this series. Sorry, so just keep an eye in the distance. Jake Biggerstaff, who's made his way past Ben Hanks into that 6th place, but Ben's certainly not giving up. And he's got Aussie coming down the inside, I think, as well there. Yeah, we do operate with 2 missed rounds, 2 drop scores in the championship to always a little bit of contact on the exit there, but again, no harm done. Yeah, the 2 drop scores just allows if people can't make a couple races, or you know they have a particularly bad evening or what have you, then yeah, it just allows them to stay competitive and stay in the championship fight, and I think it's worked well throughout our time of doing it, so it will remain. Evening, Craig, good to see you, mate. So I'll just come back to the racing. So Paul still in 2nd place, and he's managed to gain a 2nd on Rob, but can't live with Matt Johnson at the minute. I think he's managed to stem the gap. He's not allowing Matt to get any further away, but to be able to close that distance will be an absolute tall order from here. Tom, as we say, not a front wheel drive specialist by any means, but doing well in that 4th place. Miss 1 in 3, and then the other 2 would be depending if I can finish on time. Fair enough. Well, there's always Sundays as well if you decide you want to do ACC. Dave, we do have that as well, potentially. So, where is the closest battle in a minute? So we'll stick this sort of midfield battle. Oh, as Alex Osborne goes wide again. So he's going to drop several places here. Chris Brewster is in 7th, and he's still got Ben Hanks all over him. Ben's got a good run here. He's having a look at the inside, thinks better of it. Gets a little crossed up and over the curb, but he will live to fight another day. Do you need AC? No, you don't need a Assetto Corsa to have a Assetto Corsa Competizione. Competizione is its own entity. It's a separate game, so it's a more modern game. It is only GT3 cars. Well, say only GT3 cars. There's some Cup cars and GT4s as well, but it's all based upon the GT racing. Don't get the variety that you do with Assetto Corsa. As we see, Colin Dunn makes his way past Toby Owen. A little bit of a block pass as well. You saw Toby was trying to make the switch back there, and there was a slight bit of contact, but no harm done. Let me have a look. Let's have a little bit of a different perspective on things, shall we? Just to change it up. On board with Toby Owen at the moment, in the middle of this pack. That's Andy Keithley going wide there through Coppice. So he's already lost that place to Colin. And he's got, I think the guys are going to go 3 wide here actually. I think Alex Osborne was there. So Alex Osborne was definitely having a look. He thinks better of it. Toby nudges the back of Colin. There's a little bit of contact between everyone as they all hold each other up through the chicane, but nothing untoward. And that is going to be Harrison, I think, that's making moves as well. So Harrison is going to benefit big time from all this. There's a little bit of contact with Aussie on the entrance into Redgate, but is fine there, and they've all made their way past Andy Keithley. So Andy Keithley's lost a hatful of places in such a short distance, and Andy Benson's having a look at him as well now. You can just see he's going to go for the switchback, is he there? He's certainly trying it, and he's got Dan Lewis behind him as they go up the hill towards McLean. So Andy going to defend this time round and keep that car down the inside, force Dan Lewis wide, which he does. And he's going to look to try and get himself past Andy Keithley again with a good run. All these guys are in that battle for 12th. So Alex Osborne is currently occupying that 12th place. He's looking for a way past Harrison. There's a little bit of a rub of the rear bumper, I think, there, just on the entrance into the Roberts chicane, as Andy gets a good exit actually that time through. Will it be enough to put himself alongside Andy Keithley? He's certainly trying it. He's going to try and take that long route through. He's got Dan Lewis to be wary of on the inside. He's not able to make a move. Dave Rose has had a bit of a nightmare again. He's at the back of this grid after doing so well in the qualifying. In fact, who is, I think Ben Hanks currently is your lead AM driver, if I'm not mistaken. Ross Parker, yeah, everyone above Ben is pro category, so yeah, fair play to Ben. He's having a brilliant evening so far. Normally, if anything's going to happen, it happens to Ben, and hopefully that doesn't curse it now. I'm not going to keep talking about him, and I'm going to look away because I don't want anything to happen, because it's nice that he's actually having a clean run for a change. So yeah, we'll look back at this group. This group, definitely the closest on the grid. Oh, that was a late break from Harrison, but he got the car stopped, but that bit of contact and stuff did send him wide into the gravel on the exit. So all that hard work making up the positions is just undone again, and he falls to the back. Yeah, I don't know how he slowed that down as well. I thought for certain there was going to be a huge contact, and it just didn't happen, as we saw several cars go off, and it's Dave again involved. He's just having a horrid time of it tonight. I was about to say Harrison can take some comfort that although he did lose them positions, he is still in that 12th place. He's got a good gap to Andy Keithley behind him now. As we go, we're on lap 9 already. I'm struggling to keep up with everything that's going on. So Colin and Alex Osborne, there they are, side by side into Coppice. Colin has the line on the entrance, and oh, it's Toby Owen. Toby Owen's lost it on the exit, and that drops him out of those positions. So he's going to be, where is he? 16th place. He's only got Andy Benson behind him, and that loses his chances of getting in that top 12, barring a disaster for everyone else. So not ideal at all for him there. So now Dan Lewis occupies that final reverse grid position, but we can see this is going to be fiercely fought. Andy Keithley is still there. He's just had Matt McKenzie come through. Matt McKenzie a little sideways on the exit there. Not ideal. And I think, yeah, I was going to say Dave Rose is probably going to have a bit of momentum because of that slide. And in fact, he's already got someone is off. I heard the car. It's Harrison. Harrison's dropping down the order. So Harrison, oh, is he cut across? Thankfully, he missed Andy Benson there. He cut across the front, but Harrison was in a comfortable place. He was well inside that top 12 and had a good gap. So all of a sudden, these guys still fighting for that 12th place, but they do have an extra position as well. So the front two in this pack will be on the front row of the grid as it stands, as Dan Lewis looks to make his way back past Dave Rose as well. Sideways again, sideways, side by side, going into Robert Chicane. That's a late entrance for Dan Lewis, but he's made that work. There was good space given by both drivers there. And they still go side by side. No, Dave does get the car back in front, cuts across the nose. There's Harrison in the pit lane, so whether he retired to the pits or came back out, I don't know. In fact, Matt Cross, I was going to say Matt Cross. I just noticed when I said that he wasn't in the race, so I wonder what happened to Matt Cross for him to not be racing here. So yeah, is it just the base game I need, or would I need DLC as well? So if you look at the Ultimate Edition on CD keys, it will be cheap. Normally, you can normally pick it up for less than a tenner, and then everything else that you see, all the cars and that, are all mods. So you probably could get away with the base game and the DLC, but I would suspect the Ultimate Edition is probably £6 or £7 as opposed to £3. So you might as well just get the Ultimate Edition. No, they're not Steam Workshop mods. A lot of the mods come from Race Department and various sources, but we put all of our cars and all our mods in our own Google Drive, so guys never have to go searching around. If we tell them what we want to race, we'll post it in a driver's. Matt got it wrong there, but thankfully he's got that big gap. Yeah, everyone can just download it from that same drive, and it makes it nice and comfortable, and we know everyone's got the same thing. So, coming off to complete this second race, so comfortable win again, as he takes a hell of a lot of curve really for the last couple of corners. Matt Johnston takes race 2 victory in front of Paul Hayo and Rob Fowler. Sorry, we'll look at a better pack. So Chris Brewster is going to come home in 5th in front of Ross Parker. Where is it? Jake Biggerstaff's in 7th. I think Jake's run out of fuel. Jake has run out of fuel and he's not going to make the... Or is someone... Oh, Ozzy is going to try and help him, but he's just caused him to spin. They're both going to lose out here. So Ben Hanks is in 7th. And Alex, after being so generous and trying to help, has actually just caused himself to miss him out on that top 12. He's trying to push Jay Biggerstaff across as everyone else comes streaking through. So just having a look now, so Dave Rose managed to get himself back into that top 10, so he will be in the reverse grid positions. Dan Lewis and Toby Owen takes the final reverse grid, so it'll be Toby Owen and Dan Lewis on the front row for race 3. Andy Benton had just missed out in front of Matt McKenzie, Harrison, Jake Biggerstaff and Alex Osborne, who, well, very, very sporting, was trying to help Jake get across the line, but unfortunately Jake had just underfueled the car. So, a silly error on his part, as we see Tom pull up there. I think Tom was trying to show off some of the mods he'd done again. Lurk for a bit and get some. Oh, okay. Yeah, working nights is never a good thing. Thank God I don't have to do it. So yeah, hopefully the grid will just roll around and everyone line back up. Ah, it's almost like I know what I'm doing. All worked. And we get ready for race 3. So yeah, just to reiterate, if there's anyone out there that hasn't viewed or watched us before, good evening. Just to start off, My name is Andrew Welbourn, and I am obviously your commentator for this series, and I also do race within the group on Sundays in our ACC leagues, and I also do quite a lot of the admin and organising, but yeah, we race on Wednesdays and Sundays. So Wednesdays are not always on a set of Corsa, so we like to have, as you've seen with the Clios, we have a sort of touring car style evening. We just finished with V8 supercars, but historically we've had Super Tourers and Cayman Cup. We've had 240i BMWs, BMW Compact Cups, which they were actually a good success because Chris Brewster, who's P8 on the grid, it was a mod that he's actually done himself, and we got some of the real life BMW Compact Cup club guys involved with that racing as well. So yeah, that was a good success in that one. But yeah, obviously we've moved on to the Clios for now, so we tend to keep around about the 15-minute mark on the races, which is why it's 12 laps this evening. 3 races with qualifying race 1, race 2 using race 1 results to form the grid, and then this reverse grid in the final race. Our sign-ups are pretty much done for the Clios at the minute. Unfortunately, we're missing a few guys. We seem to have got just dropped unlucky on this day, where quite a few people are not available, but will be for the future. But as I say, we do Sundays as well, which is our ACC league. So we predominantly tend to run around about an hour, maybe an hour 20 for our races on the Sunday. But we're doing sprint racing at the minute, which if you look on Sim Racing GP, you can sign up for. We've got 50 slots. So as the lights come on now, guys, just about to get away, and we are underway. Again, fairly even start. Looks like Tom Simpkins has got a good start again, so he's certainly reacting well to the lights and getting away. So Dave Rose with a cracking start as well, where he's already made one position up and is up into second place and on the rear bumper of Toby Owen as Dan Lewis loses out. We'll see all these guys filtering through the Craner curves and down into the old hairpins. You see Harrison goes for a send on Andy Benton. There's a little bit of contact, but the guys make their way through clean enough. And already they're in big packs, so we'll just cut back to the front as they go 3 wide on the exit of McLean's. Toby Owen's going to have an almighty shunt. Is in the middle of the track. Everyone's going to have to avoid him. There is more contact behind. So Matt McKenzie, I think that was. It's Andy Keithley ended up worst off. I would have called a safety car. Unfortunately, James Jackson's not in the server with us. So yeah, really frustrating that. We could have done with a safety car there, because yeah, that was just a massive incident that happened. It was just Toby Owen losing it on the exit of McLean's and going across onto the grass, which caused the car to spin into the path of everyone else. So we'll see Dave Rose has hit the front. Sorry, just look this further back. So we've got, as there's contact between Brewster and I think that was Biggerstaff. So Brewster's now dropped down to 15th place. He's lost a lot of ground. See Ben Hanks in 12th there. So yeah, unfortunately a little bit too... there's Harrison gets pushed off by Jake Biggerstaff as well there. So this race is really heating up. It's getting a little bit messy. So we just cut back to the front, guys. So Tom Simpkins is trying to make the most of the reverse grid, and he gets round Colin. So Tom has gone from where would he? I think, was he 9th on the grid? I think Tom was 9th on the grid, so he's up to 4th. So he's made 5 places. He's got Paul Ayo and Matt Johnston behind him. So Matt Johnston in 7th has made up 5 places, which has certainly been helped by the guys all getting into those incidents as well. But Tom will be desperate to try and make his way forward and see if he can gain some points back on Matt Johnston, our early championship leader. As Ross gets it wrong through Redgate, and I think there was a little bit of a bump draft from Tom there, going through Hollywood and into the cranes, and Tom is going to get this move done. I think he's got it through Old Airpin. I think Ross, though, looks as though he's got that run on the exit. They go through Schwantz Curve, and they are just going to go side by side into McLean's. And in the background I could see Matt Johnston was making a move on Paul Ayo as well. So Matt Johnston's through on Paul Ayo, who was very close to the gravel there. Yeah, so Tom finally gets the better of Ross and makes that move count. Matt Johnston has got in front of Paul Ayo, who's in front of Matt Cross, and that's Alex Osborne, who's had a disaster this evening. He's in the gravel. Looks like he was battling with Jake Biggerstaff as Paul was trying to make his way back past Matt Johnston and not let him get away. And that is Jake all over the grass in the background as well. So Jake having a bit of a mare this race in front of Rob Fowler. So there's Rob Fowler in 10th as it stands. I think he must have fared pretty badly with the earlier Toby Owen incident as Jake makes contact with a door on Rob, but nothing untoward happens. Ben Hanks is having a good look as well again now. Can he find a way past? I think everyone else is pretty much spread out behind them, so it's just settled down. We'll just come back towards these front guys. So Tom trying to catch back up and get on the tail of Dan Lewis, which he is doing. He's getting a couple tenths here or there. Dave is in the lead. He's 2.2 seconds in front, which shouldn't be a surprise really, considering he qualified 4th. He clearly had good pace in that car and just had 2 terrible races, race 1 and 2, but he's leading the way now. He's comfortably leading the AM class as well in this race. But I think overall Ben Hanks is probably leading that at the moment. Tom had an awful exit on the chicane. I didn't say because I was too busy looking at the leaderboards. Oh, there's a little bit of contact going through Redgate there, so bit of door banging, but Tom is through into second, and because of the contact there, Ross Parker has also moved himself up into the podium positions. So can Tom do anything about Dave? It'd be difficult to do because, say, Dave did have good pace, as we see. Paul battling to keep Colin Dunn and Matt Cross behind him in P6 at the moment. So Colin down the inside of Matt Cross. Matt Cross has done well actually, because he would have started dead last in this race. So for him to be in 7th place, he's obviously done well to work his way through. Colin should actually be a little bit of a specialist in these cars. Oh, as I say that, he touches the grass and somehow manages to get the car back in alignment. He's going to lose a hell of a lot of ground and momentum, and Rob Fowler, I think, is going to be hunting him down come turn 1. Yeah, announcer's curse, definitely. Colin races Clios, not this version, it's the 182 Cup car, but yeah, Colin does do real life Clio Cup racing, so you would expect him to go well in a small front wheel drive Clio on here as well. Not that it always transitions. Oh, every time I look, someone's making mistakes. So Ross Parker coming out of Old Erpin and clearly lost the rear end a little there and gone onto the grass, but recovered it well before Matt Johnston got back onto him. Something's definitely gone on somewhere, because Dan Lewis has lost a couple places to Matt Johnston and Paul Hayhoe, but Matt Johnston's lost a lot of ground to Paul Hayhoe, so he's got Paul Hayhoe back on his rear bumper. Matt Cross is going with him as well. You can just see Rob Fowler had got past Colin Dunn as well in the background there as they're weaving down the straight to not try and break that toe and not allow him to get him on the brakes. Something's just happened with... Yeah, I don't know why it's just shot Chris Brewster's name up in the leaderboard. Oh, there's Chris Brewster. So, has he been lapped? Not sure what happened there. Anyway, Chris is in 13th, so he should be recovering from the earlier incident that we saw in front of Andy Keithley, Alex Osborne, Toby Owen, who had that lap 1 spin in 16th place, with Matt McKenzie and Harrison mecking up the back of the field. Meanwhile, let's cut to some battles. So Paul Hayhoe is going to have an amazing run round the outside. He nearly touches the gravel, but uses all of the track plus some and goes round the outside of Matt Johnston and Ross Parker. Ross Parker gets a little bit of a helping hand from Matt Johnston there, desperate to keep that door open and not allow Paul to close it. Paul probably will be able to keep some momentum. He's forcing Ross to take the inside of Matt Johnston. Saw what was happening, braked a little bit earlier and made sure he got a run through the chicane. So they're going to be 3 wide. No, Ross has actually managed to get the momentum. So will they go 3 wide? Going into the corner as Matt Cross got it wrong in the background. We're going to stay on these guys at the moment. Oh, there's a bit more contact in the background, but Matt Cross had definitely got it wrong. Rob Fowler not getting a hit there. I think he just about managed to avoid it. Paul has got the move done past Ross Parker. Here comes Matt Johnston as well. So Matt Johnston gets across that front bumper of Ross Parker. So now Ross eagerly trying to find his way back past immediately. Not wanting to wait and try and follow these guys. He wants to be in front, because he knows they've probably got the pace to start pulling away unless they squabble. Just looking back at the times at the front as well. So Dave has lost some ground to Tom. It was at just over 3 seconds. It's now at 1.7. But what was that? 4/10 on that lap. So Tom might catch Dave come the end of the race. Dave just needs to keep a cool head though, and he will be okay. He should be able to see out this race. So we see Paul and Matt trying to take different lines again, continuing to race. Yeah, Matt getting a good run out of Redgate. Has he got himself alongside going into the crane? As he has. Paul will squeeze him wide, try and stop him having the momentum, but Matt Johnston with an excellent run through Old Hairpin and Schwantz Curve up the hill, side by side. Many a battle had between these two, and you can see they trust each other and know what's going to happen. A little wide from Matt Johnston there, but Paul keeping the momentum. He's got it down the inside again. They're still side by side as they go through Coppice onto the back straight, coming down towards that final chicane. It looks like Matt Johnston just got a better run there. He has got the car in front. It's going to take a late dive from Paul, I think. Now Paul just about backs out of the move. So Matt Johnston into the podium positions now in 3rd place. See, Jake Biggerstaff, I think, had a poor run through that final chicane. Sorry, as I've called it off, Paul is having another go at Matt Johnston. He's going to go round the outside himself. So Rob Fowler makes a move down the inside of Ross Parker as well. struggling to keep up with this. So yeah, Paul down the crane as he's just copying. Oh, as he touched the grass, but the car stays in line. Yeah, Paul trying to mimic what Matt Johnston did to him the lap before. And it looks like he's doing it perfectly as well. Ross Parker's now getting back involved with these two squabbling. So he's made his way back past Rob Fowler. And he's right on the tail of Matt Johnston. So Paul battling and defending for his life. It's absolutely brilliant racing between these two. As they go through Coppice. And it looked like a poor run through Coppice for Paul, because Matt Johnston immediately is attacking back. Ross Parker's desperate to follow someone through. He wants one of them to make a move. They're going to look at 3 wide. Someone's going to have to give. Ross does think the better of it, but it's a poor exit from Paul. Matt Johnston is through, and I think Ross Parker is definitely going to be looking as well. We're on the penultimate lap now. We've got a great group of cars in this midfield, and Paul is going to lose out to Rob Fowler and Ross Parker in one swoop, and Jake Biggerstaff's all over the back of him now as well with all this squabbling that's been going on. The 2x2 going through the crane of curves down towards Old Hairpin, and Ross Parker is going to have an excellent run on the exit. He certainly does, and he gets himself back in front, possibly with a little bit of help from Paul Ayo there as well. So Ross back into that podium position. It's an excellent run, and that is a mega move from Paul as well. Paul went right round the outside, and he's got the move done as well. Oh, there was contact between Ben Hanks in the background, I think there. Not sure who that was with. I think that was with Dan Lewis. Yeah, Paul had an absolutely amazing run through McLean's there. Just hugged the car round the outside and kept all the momentum. It just sent him straight past the pack. And it's actually given him an 8/10 advantage, which is absolutely crucial going into this last lap. It's just enough that it's meant he can take his normal lines and not have to compromise himself. So we are on the last lap. I do want to see Dave as Matt Cross dives down the inside of Colin Dunn, who goes onto the grass, and he's going to lose out to Chris Brewster as well. Ben Hanks is still in 11th place. As we see all these groups of cars go through. Where is Dave? He's going into McLean's. He's got that 3-second advantage back to Tom. I think Tom's probably just backed off, knowing he can't quite get onto terms with Dave in this race. Paul's still half a second in front of Rob Fowler, who's desperately trying to hunt him down in these last few corners. They go through McLean's there. And into Coppice. Where is Dave? So Dave going to make his way through the final chicane. Not seen much of him. He's had a lonely race. But after the first 2 races, which were not good at all for Dave, he comes home to win race 3. As Tom does his trick of removing the bonnet and stuff on his car to finish in second with a flash of the lights. Paul does hang on to 3rd place in front of Rob Fowler. Ross Parker is 5th. Jake is in 6th. Matt Johnston got demoted to 7th in the end in front of Matt Cross. We've got Chris Brewster in 9th in front of Alex Osborne. Dan Lewis, Ben Hanks in 12th. Andy Benton is 13th in front of Andy Keithley. Toby Owen 15th. Colin Dunn finishes in 16th after them mistakes. Harrison in 17th and Matt McKenzie in 18th, and that is everyone across the line already. So pretty much impossible to keep up with everyone that was running there, but a brilliant race from Dave Rose there. Lived up to the pace he showed in that qualifying session to take the top AM position as well as the overall race victory, and will do his championship challenge a world of good after the first 2 races. Ben Hanks has had a stonking evening for the AMs as well. But yeah, some absolutely brilliant racing in that 3rd race. It's what we like to see with that reverse grid. As the guys just finish off the parade lap. So what we We've still got 9 viewers apparently. So thank you to those that have joined us. If you haven't already, if you could give us a follow on the channel, that'd be great. And also, if you have Amazon Prime and are not using the free subscription to any of the other Twitch channels, we'd greatly appreciate it if you would subscribe to ours. As I say, it costs you nothing. If you've got your Amazon Prime account, you link it up to Amazon Gaming, and then when you're on Twitch, you click subscribe and you can do it for free for us. All it does is it allows us to generate a little bit of money that goes towards paying for the server rentals, which means we can produce the racing that you see here on the channel. So yeah, it's all good. So I will say thank you for the guys that were in the chat as well. It's always nice when we've got a little bit of chat going on, some questions, etc. Keeps me on my toes and gives me someone to talk to, which is nice. So thank you for that. And we will be back on, it'll be next week. So yeah, originally we would have been doing Sunday for Lamborghini Super Trofeo Cup on ACC, but because of the Formula 1 and a potential clash, we're postponing that by a week. So we'll be back next week for the Clios, and then the Saturday we are doing our joint championship with Positive Perception and the boys, which is a team event, and then on the Sunday we will have the Lamborghini Super Trofeos from Hungaroring. So as I say, thank you very much for watching, and we'll hopefully see you again next week. Bye for now.